In 2022, a tournament that lasts less than a month generated more revenue than the entire NBA does in a full season. FIFA didn't build any stadiums, didn't pay any players, didn't buy any airtime. They just own the rights to the most watched event in human history, and they charge accordingly. Here's how that happened. Act 1. The origin: it started in a Paris meeting room in 1904. 7 football associations, 1 piece of paper, no money, no plan. FIFA, the Fédération Internationale de Football Association, was born as a loose agreement between Europeans who wanted to organize international matches. That was the full ambition. The first World Cup didn't even happen until 1930 in Uruguay, with 13 nations and 0 television coverage. Jules Rimet, FIFA's president at the time, basically had to beg teams to show up. Some European nations refused to make the 3-week boat journey. But 1954 changed everything. West Germany beat Hungary in Switzerland. And for the first time in history, people watched it on television. Millions of viewers, across multiple countries, all locked in. Advertisers saw it. Broadcasters saw it. And somewhere inside FIFA's quiet Swiss headquarters, the right people started doing the math. The World Cup wasn't just a trophy ceremony. It was a media product. And nobody else owned it. Let's be precise about what FIFA actually sells. It sells attention. Specifically, unified global attention, the rarest commodity in media. The Super Bowl draws around 115 million viewers. Impressive for one country. The Olympics pull 3 billion globally. Genuinely massive. The World Cup final alone drew 1.5 billion viewers in 2022. The full tournament? 5 billion across all matches. That's more than half the planet. For a brand that wants to reach humans, not Americans, not Europeans, not just English speakers, but humans, there is no other vehicle that does this. Not even close. That's why broadcasters don't negotiate with FIFA from a position of strength. They can't walk away. If a network loses the World Cup rights in its territory, it loses the single most valuable sports product it could carry. Its competitor wins that market for 4 years. So they pay whatever FIFA asks. And FIFA asks more every single cycle. This is the foundation of the entire empire. Not football skill, not sporting drama, just monopoly control over irreplaceable attention. Let's open the books. Broadcast rights are the engine, roughly 55% of total revenue. FIFA sells territory by territory. Europe pays separately from Asia, separately from North America, separately from Latin America. In major markets, multiple networks bid against each other. The price ceiling keeps rising because the product keeps outperforming every alternative. Sponsorship accounts for about 30%. FIFA runs a 2-tier system. The top-tier FIFA partners pay an estimated $150 million or more per 4-year cycle for maximum visibility and exclusivity rights. Companies at this level include some of the most recognized brands on Earth. They're not paying for ad space. They're paying to be permanently associated with the biggest stage in sport. Ticketing and premium hospitality contribute roughly 10%. Qatar 2022 sold 3.4 million tickets. Hospitality packages, private suites, curated event access sell for figures most people will never see in a year's salary. The remaining 5% comes from licensing. Every official jersey, every video game, every Panini sticker pack carries a FIFA license fee. The sticker album business alone is worth hundreds of millions globally. Add it together for the 2022 cycle, $7.5 billion. For the 2026 cycle, projections are already north of $11 billion. The United Nations has 193 member states. FIFA has more members than the UN. This isn't a trivia fact. It's a power structure. Nations don't just want to host the World Cup for the love of football. Hosting means infrastructure contracts worth billions. It means tourism surges, international visibility, and a message to the global economy that says, we are open, we are capable, we are here. For developing nations, it's a development signal. For authoritarian states, it's a legitimacy purchase. For mid-tier economies, it's the single greatest marketing event they'll ever have access to. So governments compete. Desperately, they build stadiums FIFA requires. They upgrade airports FIFA expects. They fund entire city transformations to meet FIFA's hosting standards. Qatar spent an estimated $220 billion preparing for a 29-day tournament. FIFA's revenue from that same tournament? $7.5 billion for an event it didn't fund, didn't build, and didn't staff. That is the most asymmetric commercial arrangement in global sport. Possibly in global commerce. And nations keep signing up because the alternative letting a rival nation host is a cost they're not willing to absorb. The scandal in May 2015, Swiss authorities raided a Zurich hotel at dawn and arrested 7 FIFA officials. The FBI had been building a corruption case for years. What they found was systemic. Broadcast rights across Latin America and the Caribbean had been sold with bribes attached. World Cup hosting votes had been bought. Commercial deals worth hundreds of millions had kickback arrangements baked in. 14 countries, dozens of indicted officials, over $150 million in traceable corrupt payments. FIFA's reputation collapsed overnight. And then something strange happened. The sponsors stayed. The broadcasters renewed their deals. Governments kept submitting hosting bids. Because here's the cold reality of FIFA's position: corruption at the top doesn't devalue the product at the bottom. The World Cup still delivers 5 billion viewers. A FIFA sponsorship still reaches the same audience. Hosting still generates the same soft power. Revenue didn't drop through the scandal, it grew. Every single cycle. The empire survived because it had made itself indispensable, and indispensable things don't get cancelled. Act 6. The future for 2026. The World Cup expands to 48 teams for the first time. More nations means more matches. More matches means more broadcast hours. More hours means more inventory, more ads, more sponsorship activations, more premium content. Revenue projections for the 2026 cycle already exceed $11 billion. FIFA is also chasing entirely new commercial frontiers. Streaming rights in India and Southeast Asia remain largely undeveloped despite billions of football fans in those regions. As smartphone penetration grows, those markets represent the next major broadcast rights explosion. 2030 marks the World Cup centennial. FIFA is planning a globally distributed celebration, with matches potentially across 6 nations on multiple continents. The symbolic weight alone will make it the most marketed sporting event in history. And 2034 is heading to Saudi Arabia, another nation making a $200 billion infrastructure bet. Another government paying FIFA for the privilege of hosting. Another cycle where FIFA collects revenue from assets it didn't build. The math compounds. Every 4 years. Indefinitely, in 1904, they just wanted to organize some football matches. They ended up building the most valuable media monopoly in the history of sport, not by playing the game better than anyone, by understanding before almost anyone else did that owning the rights to attention is worth more than anything happening on the pitch. The ball is worth nothing. The rights to it are worth everything.